Well, I'm joined now by Dalia Fahmy, who is an Associate Professor of Political Science at Long Island University. Dalia, thanks so much for joining us on the programme. We heard there from Linda Thomas-Greenfield saying that it's time for Israel to wind down this conflict. That seems to have happened. Can I just start by getting your reaction to the news of this ceasefire between Israel and Hamas?
Well, of course, a ceasefire is very much welcome. If you look at the suffering that's happened in Gaza, with 232 Palestinians killed, 65 of them children, 1,900 people injured, but 90,000 displaced. This has been quite a disastrous 2 weeks for the people of Gaza. And if you look at what the ceasefire will give them, it will give them an opportunity to allow for supplies, food, medical supplies, to come back into the area. But this is just a ceasefire. This is not a solution. This is not a resolution, and this is not really taking into account what needs to happen in the long term. And a more critical question needs to happen of why have the past 2 weeks even occurred, and why has the international community allowed this to continue? And so, while of course a ceasefire is welcome, this is not a resolution, and more in keeping is why the international community continue to allow 2 weeks of bombardment to continue.
Yeah, sure. Sure. I mean, what, in your opinion, needs to happen then for a longer-term solution to occur?
Of course, the root causes have to be addressed. First, the reconstruction of Gaza. This is not the first time. We're looking at 2008, 2009, 2010, 2012, 14, 16, and now. There's been a regular bombardment of Gaza, so the rebuilding of Gaza. The settlement expansion needs to be addressed, ending the occupation, but also addressing the aspirations of the Palestinian people and addressing the fact that the United Nations continues to support a two-state solution while much of the world has turned its back on that. And so really addressing the root causes. But if you look at the bombardment that's happened in Gaza, the targets were strategic, and what Israel targeted were municipal and administrative buildings, hospitals, areas where people really require. And so it looks like Gaza has been set back, not decade, but decades. And so thinking of this place as the open-air prison, it's been referred to by the United Nations, of 2 million people, we have to take stock of what's really happened. And if we're going to talk about ceasefire leading to resolution, to peace, then the root causes need to be addressed. And that's what remains to happen.
And so you think a two-state solution that has been talked about still at the UNGA is not a viable one?
Two-state solution, unfortunately, has been dead for quite a while. But if you look at what's happened in both the Palestinian territories and also in Israel, there's a lot of domestic politics that needs to be addressed. For example, while the ceasefire is welcomed by the international community, it's not welcome by Benjamin Netanyahu's party. He's put together a coalition of really right-wing people who are condemning this, saying that he looks weak on Gaza, that they actually wanted the continued bombardment, almost the decimation of Gaza. And they're seeing his actions as a weakness. And for someone who's been unable to put together a government for quite some time, to be criticized by this coalition of right-wing members of government, it begs the question of what is the future going to look like? The Israeli government of today is not the Israeli government of 10 and 20 years ago. This is much more right-wing, much more hyper-nationalist, that doesn't necessarily want to see a resolution on Gaza.
OK, and just lastly, and just briefly, Turkey has suggested a peacekeeping force. Do you think that is one step towards some kind of stability or security on the ground, at least for Gazans?
Absolutely, it would be. However, Israel has refused to allow any international monitoring force to ever come inside. And so the likelihood that that would be accepted and happen is suspect. The fact that, for example, Egypt might be sending monitors to Gaza is a welcome resolution, because Israel has, again, refused international monitors in the past. And so if this does happen, this could be a possible solution for the future.
OK. Dalia Fahmy, thanks so much for joining us on the programme. It was great to get your insight.